This guy got me calling him the Mexican monk. Everybody's scared of this guy.
David Benavides is the new wrecking ball, destroying his way through the super middleweight division by systematically breaking down his opponents into submission. When this new breed of monster is unleashed onto the sport of boxing, even Mike Tyson would stand up to take note, as he would christen David Benavides as the Mexican monster. David Benavides, from a young age, showed so much promise when it came to boxing. At the age of 15, while his classmates were pursuing girls and going to parties, David would travel the country sparring the likes of Gennady Golovkin, Kelly Pavlik and Peter Quillen and other world-class fighters. Benavides had built up quite the reputation for himself across many boxing gyms. The Phoenix native would go on to amass a record of 15-0 in the amateur ranks. Having a very short amateur career wouldn't tell the truth about David's talents, as finding fights in the amateur circuit had always been a struggle, with David standing over 6 feet in height at just the age of 15. As it is always great to have such an extensive amateur career, such as many of his other counterparts did, many onlookers in the sport could already see that the Mexican monster was always destined for bigger things. David turned pro at the age of 17, in which he would go on a tear throughout the early stages of his professional boxing career. David would go on to compile a record of 14-0 with 13 knockouts to his name before it was time to take a step up in competition, when in his 15th fight he would face off against the fellow unbeaten prospect in Francis Ntutu. Benavides would go on to pass this test with flying colours when he dispatched of Ntutu in the 7th round of their contest.
He is the winner by way of technical knockout and still undefeated, La Bandera Roja, David Benavides.
With seemingly no one putting a dent in the young Mexican-American, David would go on to be matched up against the tricky veteran in Dennis Douglas, who would share the ring with other top super middleweights of the time in George Groves and Callum Smith. Benavides would systematically break down Douglas before stopping him in the 10th and final round.
Has 7 rounds.
Oh, knockdown scored!
Not getting too close if you're Benavides and doing that.
That's it. Fight over.
Benavides would go on to make easy work of Kirill Mamagananov within just 2 rounds, before setting up a title eliminator against the seasoned Mexican Porky Medina, who was most notable for going the distance against then IBF champion James DeGale. David would go on to announce himself to the world stage following a vicious beatdown of Medina, in which he showcased his lightning hand speed and devastating power with a showreel finish of Medina.
And a left hook to the body, and now David Benavides comes upstairs and is trying to bring an ice to the knife of Porky Medina. What a punch! And down goes Medina, and David Benavides has starched Rogelio Medina.
Following his breakout performance over Porky Medina, David Benavides would face off against fellow top contender in Ronald Gavril. David was bidding to become the youngest ever super middleweight champion with a victory in this fight. The fight would be a back and forth affair, which would even see Benavides taste the canvas for the first time in his career in the 12th and final round. However, the Phoenix native had already done enough to pick up the split decision victory, with questions hanging over Benavides following him suffering his first knockdown at the hands of Gavril. David would go on to silence all critics when he would completely shut out Gavril in their immediate rematch, displaying excellent ring generalship on course to a wide unanimous decision. Despite showcasing nothing but near perfection inside of the squared circle, Benavides would have his issues outside of boxing, when he would be stripped of his championship following failing a doping test for a recreational substance. David would quickly put all that behind him when he would go on to destroy his multi rival in J. Leon Love within just 2 rounds.
He's got to use his leg. Oh, big right by Benavides. That's it.
With this win, that would set up a showdown versus the veteran Anthony Dirrell, who had picked up the WBC title in Benavidez' absence. In their fight, Benavidez slowly broke down Dirrell, opening up a bad cut over his eye with a right hand in the 6th round, before putting Dirrell away with a series of combinations in the 9th round. In the first defence of his second reign as champion, David Benavides would lose his title again when he failed to make weight against Alexis Angulo. The fight would still take place after an agreement was reached. The fight would be very similar to his display against Dirrell. David would go on to put on another display of raw power and ferocity, forcing Angulo's team to stop the contest after the 10th round.
David Benavides.
Benavidez would continue his hunt to gain back his super middleweight crown with back-to-back stoppage victories over Ronald Ellis and Tyrone Davis, before he would face off against the heavy-hitting former middleweight champion of the world in David Lemieux. It would be Benavidez' power which would propel him to a stunning knockout performance over Lemieux in just 3 rounds. With this win, Benavidez would capture the WBC interim world title, therefore putting him next in line for a shot against the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world in Canelo Alvarez.
Without a doubt. A left hook. Down goes. Oh, he's almost down. Lemieux in trouble. Benavidez are going to close the show. Can he finish off Lemieux? Lemieux in trouble. Harvey Dog watching the action. And it's over.
Back up. 6, 7. Show me something. I'm giving you a short leash. Show me something. Referee.
But back comes Lemieux, big right hand, crushing shot. It buckled Lemieux, and now the corner's coming up, and this one is over. And David Benavides has become a 3-time super middleweight.
He is still undefeated. He is now the interim WBC super middleweight champion. Boxing's pride of Phoenix, El Bandera Roja, David.
In the interim, it was announced that Benavidez would be making his first defence of his interim super middleweight title against former IBF world champion Caleb Plant. The fight would be Benavidez' first time headlining a pay-per-view, so on the 25th of March at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada, Benavidez would face off against Caleb Plant. On the night, Benavidez started slow before relentlessly pressuring Plant in the second half of the fight with power punches to break down his opponent and win a unanimous decision, with the judges' scorecards reading 117 to 111, 116 to 112 and 115 to 113 to firmly cement David Benavides as the Mexican Monster.
The Mexican Monster,